How you doing? I'm Shotti NYC, portrait photographer from the Bronx, and I love to capture faces. Portraits are my thing. I like particularly the unique structure of the face, the jawline, cheekbone, chin, and I'm gonna show you how to maximize capturing those things as well as how to get the good skin tone and make it accurate. There you go, nice. Right this way. Profile picture? Profile picture? Okay. When I like to do portraits, I like to use lighting techniques that show depth and maximize the shapes and structure of people's faces. Any light that's not direct and right into the subject's face is what I like to use. So that could be side lighting, that could be above, that could be reflective, having a light come from one direction and bounce back onto the model and things like that. Today, we're here with Tuck, our very handsome face for the day. And Tuck has really strong facial features. He's got a nice outline of his face. And I'm gonna capture that without losing too much detail. We're working with window light. We wanna keep it simple. We wanna show that you're able to do this type of lighting setup that looks professional, it looks well lit, but it's something that you can do pretty much anywhere as long as you have some type of daylight. So today I'm using the FUJIFILM GFX 100S along with the FUJIFILM 80mm 1.7. That's my go-to lens for portraiture. You can do full body, you can do close-ups, and it has a nice 1.7 wide open aperture to make sure that you're getting your subject in focus, but also having a nice bokeh for the background to create some separation between your subject and the background. Usually when people shoot, they want to kind of just expose for the whole face. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're shooting with natural light and I have all of the light facing into Tuck's direction. This should give us a textbook, perfect exposure. It's evenly lit, but watch what happens when I shoot it this way. We have a good exposure on the face. It's just that the details kind of fall flat. There's not much directionality and you don't get a true sense, although he does have a really strong jawline, you can kind of see that from the front. But let's just see what happens when we flip it and give a little side light. So what we're gonna do is just light the edge of his face. So we're using a window light and we're also using reflective bounce for some portion to throw some light back on the side. Also, we're using a bounce for negative fill to make sure, since we're in an all white room, we want to make sure that we don't pick up any extra stray light bouncing off objects in the room. That's why we have this black fill here, just to kind of keep the light directional coming from one side. And then we have the small white bounce to place the light strategically where we want it on the subject's face, which will be around the jawline and on the shoulder to create some separation from the background. So yeah, perfect right there. So we'll get a little bit of highlight on the cheek. Because it's really good to have shadows that help tell a story. It's not always about having a fully exposed image. You need highlights and shadows, and that's what creates depth in the image. You see the difference? Now this one looks more dimensional versus this, which is super flat. It kind of looks like a driver's license picture. And we're not really doing Tuck a great justice as far as seeing the shape of his face. So we do that, and if you look, you feel like you can see more of the shape of his face, but his face is less exposed here. It's just the way that the highlights and the shadows are playing with each other to create that depth. So we can really see the jawline here. We also have the hair light just to add in because we're quite far from the window. So just to make sure that we have some light that's separating because our subject is wearing all black with dark skin on a black background. We have that hair light above just to separate the hair, give a little bounce and outline on the side of the body to bring it off of the background. So this light is coming in from the window. It's giving some light around the side of the face. And then the light from the window also is coming, it's hitting this bounce board, coming back and then filling in the jawline and some of his back. So technically we don't even need this light. So this is a look that you could do to look like it's 3 lights, but really you don't have any lights, you're just using a natural light. You do want to pay attention to the subject's skin tone, the brightness of their skin, because that's going to play a factor into how you're using the light to work with the image to make sure that you're not overexposing. If there's a lighter skin, you may want to expose differently than you would if the subject has darker skin, just to make sure that it's not washed out. So there is no real one-stop shop or one-way method to doing this. You kind of have to pay attention to the subject and then adjust accordingly. Looking at me, and just bring your chin a little towards me. It's always good to have good communication with your model. Let them know exactly what you're wanting from them so they can deliver that. He just asked me if I wanted him to look out the window or look at me, which makes a big difference when you're framing the photo. You want to make sure that you're telling them exactly what to do so they're not confused and they're comfortable. I prefer to do random photos and random portraits of people and have it be less orchestrated because you kind of get a more natural look that way. So it's important to know this lighting technique, and it's very helpful because you can do it more impromptu by just using the daylight. You don't have to do a major production every time to reproduce lighting like this. And if you don't have a V-flat or if you don't have a reflector, you could definitely grab a white piece of paper. You could grab a white shopping bag, anything that's white and big enough to bounce light back onto your subject. So it's okay when you're shooting people of color or that have darker skin. It's okay to leave some shadow area. You don't have to completely underexpose it. It's okay to, let the true color tones and shape and everything shine. You don't have to overexpose it just to see the details, because like I said before, the highlights and the shadows work well with each other to help tell the story of the face. Oh, look at those teethuses. This is called an highlighter. You'll see these in a lot of studios, right? And it's mostly just because it looks cool. 120mm macro. So I can get really, really close to him and I can just shoot the eye. Yeah. Sometimes I want to go closer into the shot and get like a really tight detail, and then I would use the 120 macro. What makes a macro lens special is the focusing distance. So aside from it being a longer lens, which is going to give you a closer picture, I'm able to get a little bit more closer to my subject when I have these, and it'll focus fine. You may notice that you have some lenses, you try to get close and the camera starts to hunt and the lens is searching for the focus. That's typically because the focusing distance is being breached. So you're too close for the camera to focus properly. But these macro lenses, any macro lens, they're built to focus a lot closer to the subject. These will be what you use for close-ups. So one of the parts of editing in the workflow that I did before was to brighten up the eyes. This highlighter, you'll see, I keep it on the white side because it gives a little bit of extra bounce on the face. So we just learned how to use natural light paired with a reflector, paired with negative fill, throw in a headlight, and these give you the certain type of lighting techniques that'll help you sculpt the face. This lighting technique also gives you depth in the image, which gives a more three-dimensional look and adds some texture so that you can really feel the image that you're seeing. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed these videos. I hope you got some useful information. Let me know in the comments below what you like to do. Maybe you have a particular lighting style that I could try too. This is all about empowerment and trying new things. There's no set way to do it. There's no good, there's no bad. There's just whatever's right for the moment. So stay tuned for the other videos and I hope to see you soon.